Hello, 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 and welcome back to
A Little Birdie Told You.
I'm your host, Kristen Knight.
And I'm your host, Kelli Knight.
And today I want to talk about something I think a lot of people go through.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people go through a lot of things, right? But this is one thing I think the people that see themselves working very difficultly through challenges and having to go through a lot of obstacles encounter. I think a lot of us who go through things such as that feel that everyone else gets things a lot easier than we do. I feel like we're working so hard for something, but yet people who seem like they don't deserve it acquire it so much more simply than we do. And this can go for a lot of different things. This can go as something as simply as, oh, they have so many friends and I feel like I work so hard on myself. I work so difficultly and I criticize myself and make sure I'm this perfect person, yet everyone wants to be that person's friend. Or I feel like I love myself so much and have developed so much into myself with this self-love journey I've provided myself, yet they're in a relationship and I'm not. So I think a lot of us can put ourselves in that mindset where we compare ourselves to other people and what they have over what we do and the things that we go through and our obstacles.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people compare themselves to like what other people have or what they get like so easily. Really, I think at the end of the day, no matter how hard you work for something, I think it truly shows that a lot of people take things for granted. And at the end of the day, when you have to work hard for something, at least when you get it, you know not to take it for granted.
I also think a lot of people think you don't deserve the things you have.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we look at people and say, oh, well, they're pretty. Oh, well, they have a lot of friends. Or they seem like they're this. Oh, they have a great significant other. They don't deserve that. Well, who are you to say they don't deserve that? Just keep in mind one thing about people is you have no right to project any perception onto them. You don't know what someone's went through personally.
Yeah, no.
We could be sitting here and no one knows what anyone's going through. I have no idea what you've gone through in life. I don't know your traumas, your background, nothing. I have no idea, no concept of that. And even if you do tell people, sometimes you truly don't tell everybody everything. Sometimes if you look at someone and say, wow, they have, a great significant other, well, maybe they had to go through a lot of challenges in life and the universe rewarded them with that. Maybe you are on the self-love journey, but maybe your strengths are someone else's weaknesses. Maybe you have the strength to make friends, but someone else doesn't. Maybe someone else doesn't know how to communicate with other people. Sometimes we find ourselves in that predicament where maybe we can't do the same things as other people. But guess what? You have no right to tell that person they don't deserve that. Yeah, maybe they were mean to people. Maybe you know somebody and you're looking at them and say, wow, they treated people so cruelly, or they always treated me cruelly, but yet they have all these great things. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have all these great things. Maybe they go through a lot mentally. Maybe you see them and they're always alone, and maybe they put on a smile on their face like everything's okay, and you're like, oh, well, they seem so happy. They seem like they're amazing. They're doing amazing. Well, how do you know what they're going through at home? Or how do you know what they're going through mentally in their life?
Like we always like to say is never like judge a book by its cover, because you never truly know what's going on inside unless you truly read it and you know that person very well.
You will only know yourself that well. Allow everyone to make projections and tell you don't deserve it. If someone comes up to you and say you don't deserve anything that you have, well, who are they to say that? Who is someone to tell you that? When they don't know anything you've been through. Think of all the things that you've been through in your life and all the other things other people have been through. You don't know. You have no idea. And a lot of us, I think, say things like this and look at other people with the concept of, oh, I don't have that. I want that. Or they have this and maybe I don't. I'm working so hard on myself. You are working hard on yourself because those are the obstacles you're meant to go through and challenges you're meant to go through to make you a better person.
And sometimes a lot more people have to go through different challenges before others to like actually grow as a person and learn things. And I wouldn't say that as like, oh yeah, it's a bad thing, because I think everybody needs to learn things to get what they want.
Life is a journey and you're going to have different paths on it. Ultimately, right?
Yeah.
We're all going to have a different path. You're going to have a different path. I'm going to have a different path. Everyone else watching this, you're going to have a different path in life, okay? So your friend, if they seem like everything's going great for them and everything's so easy, you feel lost, well, guess what?
Sometimes people hide things.
Yeah, some people hide things. I think this is kind of a concept I want to bring up with people who we might look at and say, oh, they're really smart, okay?
Or they're like perfect.
Yeah, or they're perfect. Let's talk about somebody like that. So say we have somebody who is very smart And we look at them and say, wow, they always get amazing grades or amazing points on their assignments.
Everybody has to work very hard for where they are. So
Yeah.
don't sit there and be like, oh yeah, well that person gets things so easily, or they don't deserve that. They do. I'm sure they do.
Maybe. But you shouldn't criticize someone else. You don't have the right to do that. But if we're talking about somebody who's like that, say somebody always gets amazing grades, right? And you see them all the time and you kind of have a jealousy because maybe you feel you have to work a little harder to get that. Maybe you don't always get the best of grades. Well, we don't know them, okay? We don't know if they are pressured to get those grades, if they go home and they self-criticize themselves. You don't understand the amount of self-criticism other people put themselves under. Sometimes that person feels like everyone uses them to get to where they want to go. Maybe people use a specific person because they are a little bit more advanced in things and everyone wants to use them. But then we have the other side. And maybe there's people that feel like they don't have a lot, but maybe they have a lot more when it comes to social qualities. And that person lacks that. And they sit there and like, wow, I spend all my time alone. I'm always alone. But then we look at someone else and they have all that. Well, guess what? Your strengths are not going to match with everyone else's. You have to understand you have qualities that you possess, and you have to understand that those qualities are your qualities. They are yours. They're not someone else's. We can't look at other people and sit there and say, well, oh, they have this. Well, you have something too that maybe they're looking at and they want. Be grateful. As you were just saying, a lot of people take these things for granted.
Sometimes the people you wish like you could be or become are the people that wish they were you. Always put that in like your perspective, because some people that you're looking at, you're like, dang, they're perfect. I wish I was them. They're looking at you the same way. So don't sit there and put them on a pedestal being like, oh, I wish I was them, when they're wishing they were you.
And maybe this is the time when you can reinvent yourself. If you find yourself always comparing yourself to other people, if you want to become that person, then become that person. If you want to be that person that has that certain aesthetic that you're looking at and you're like, oh, I really want that aesthetic, I want to embody that. Do it. No one said you didn't have to reinvent yourself. You can reinvent yourself at any point given in time. You can do whatever you want. You can change your style one day and wake up and say, I don't want to be this person, or change your mindset. But remember, it all comes from within. It's how we perceive the world around us. It's our perspective and our mindset and how we project those things. Instead of projecting your energy into other people and trying to decrease them and tear them down, why aren't you just putting the energy into yourself to allow yourself to rise above? Allow yourself to become a better version of yourself. Allow yourself to be the person that you aspire to be.
And one thing I want to say is putting energy into other people sometimes can be a waste. But one thing I can say is putting energy into yourself will never be a waste, because you're working on yourself and there's nothing wrong with that.
Why would you put energy into other people when you can just put it into yourself and make yourself more improved?
Yeah.
And another thing is a lot of that can come from mental energy. If you're thinking about somebody all the time and
Or
thinking
you're like
about
worrying about them, I don't know, maybe they're not texting you or something, don't sit there and waste your time on them, because like I always say, there is somebody in that person's phone that they don't have to text first. That person's always texting them. And then you're like, oh, well, should I double text them? Maybe they're not getting my like message or something. Honey, they're getting your message. Trust me. They just don't want to answer you. They're not like on their top priorities there, okay?
And if you want to stop being that person that's chasing other people, put the energy into yourself. Put so much energy into yourself that when people give you energy, you were like, oh, I don't need this, but it's nice to have it. You know, it's nice to acquire some energy, but I put a lot of energy into myself, a lot of effort into myself to make myself this version of myself. You shouldn't have to prioritize giving energy to other people. It should be directed to you. And if other people don't respect that, cut them off, okay? We just cut them off. We don't even take the time to acknowledge that. We just remove them from our lives because like you said, there's someone else that they'll give their energy to way before you.
Yeah.
I hear this all the time. It's like you could tell somebody to do all these things for you, like A, B, C, and D, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that.
And then they don't.
And they don't. But another person comes around that they've barely even known, and they'll give them A, B, C, and D like that. Okay? Like they'll give them all these things. You say, oh, could you do this for me? I really need this. Could you do this for me? And then they don't do that, but then they'll give it to the other person like that, like in an instant. So sometimes that's why you just have to say, well, instead of asking them to do A, B, C, and D for me, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D for me, okay?
Yep.
And what I mean by A, B, C, and D for me is, oh, I want somebody to, you know, talk to. I want somebody to listen to me. I want this. Well, you know what? I'm just going to listen to myself. You can listen to yourself, talk to yourself. That's okay. You can do that. You're voluntarily doing it to yourself. Voluntarily, I should say. You're doing it to yourself. You can talk to yourself. That's fine. Sometimes talking to yourself is the only person that will listen, okay? Talk to yourself in the mirror and say, you're beautiful. You're gorgeous. You're this, you're that, okay? And affirm that to yourself. You don't need someone else to do that for you. Stop looking for other people to do that. Reinvent yourself and do that for you. Instead of comparing yourself to, Lucy over here, who seems like she's perfect. Well, Lucy might be going through her own struggles in life, okay? Lucy might look perfect, and maybe she doesn't think she looks perfect, okay? Maybe Lucy's over here, or Kelly, we should say, is over here believing that they aren't all these things that you look at them like, okay? But the one thing that matters in that situation is you believing it. Because if you don't believe it, then no one else will, okay? So maybe other people perceive you a certain way, but you don't perceive yourself that way. The only perception that matters is your own.
Yes.
Don't look at yourself and say, they don't deserve that. I work harder than them. We don't know what they're going, and it doesn't matter where they're going or what they're going through. What matters is you. If you're going through obstacles, they're making you a bigger, stronger person. And maybe that person's not strong enough to go through those obstacles. And that's why the universe or God didn't give them those obstacles. Maybe they gave you these obstacles so you can take them and teach them and give other people a bit of guidance. Okay? So maybe that's why you're going through all these things.
And one thing I want to say, I think I've said this before in an episode, but it's almost like, it's like a Google map. That's what I like to say it as. And you tell God, okay, well, I want to become this like better version of myself, or I want to have better friends, or, I want to be in like a very healthy relationship. And you tell God that, right? And God he's sending you on your way there, right? You're like in a car, but God's not going to tell you if there's going to be rocks in the road. He's not going to tell you if a deer jumps out at you. He's not going to tell you any little things like that. There's going to be little obstacles that you're going to have to go through in life in order to get where you want to go. Nothing is going to be handed to you like that. Let's be honest. Nothing's ever handed to you very quickly like that. You always have to work for things. But at the end of it, when you get it,
that's a
happy.
perfect example.
Yes.
It's an actual perfect example because a lot of us don't realize this, but when we ask for something, we automatically think we're going to get it. Like there's no work involved in it. And a lot of us are going through different journeys in life. All of us are going through different journeys in life, as I just stated. So
none of our journeys are going to be the same though. Like everybody probably thinks, oh, well, this person, like Kristen says, everybody gets everything easy. You think in your mind though, you don't know their journey. You are not the one that told God where you want to go. So you don't know where they're wanting to go.
But one who may have acquired confidence easily may not have acquired other traits easily. So one person who might be secure and confident might not be another person's strength. Therefore, if they ask for strength, if they ask for confidence, they might have to go through a little bit of obstacles to get there. If you ask yourself, well, why are people so cruel to me? Why do people always judge me? Well, maybe God or the universe is testing to see how you're going to take judgments. Maybe God or the universe is trying to see how you're going to take being alone because they're trying to prepare you for something greater. Okay? If you're finding yourself alone and you don't really have anybody, well, maybe you're alone because you're building your character and your strength that if you ever got left alone, you would know exactly what to do. Think about somebody who's never been alone, somebody who always has people with them. If they were alone, they wouldn't know how to cope with that. Think of somebody who always takes in people's perceptions of them and they constantly battle with themselves and with other people about who they really are, and you know who you are. Well, maybe you're going through that battle to transform you into somebody who's supposed to become who they are, to transform you into somebody who has so much confidence and resilience that when people try to tear them down, they just get right back up. Ask yourself that. Instead of looking at it as a negative trait and comparing, take it and say, I'm going to use this and build up this talent or build up this quality in myself that therefore it's so strong that no one else can ever achieve it. No one else can have it like I do. No one else can have the quality that you have exactly like you do. They can have confidence, but their confidence will never be the same confidence as you. So you have to take that and say, well, this was my challenge. This is my obstacle I'm going through because it's going to make it stronger. It's basically kind of like, training it a little bit for you, training your confidence. But if you ask God or the universe for something, he's not a genie. We're not going to go like this and it's just going to be handed to you.
And as I like to say, never worry or overthink. Like, I'm an overthinker, so that's probably why I'm saying this. But never worry or overthink about something because you're better off just believing and trusting that there's something better for you.